Once again, we are here to do some reviewing of WWE stuff. He's Byron. I'm Mike. We're actually pretty happy about this particular review. We enjoyed both these shows. So we're doing 205 Live, and we're also doing NXT from this week. And before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the Brock Lesnar story, about him theoretically doing MMA, rumored to be doing MMA. According to Jeff Nowitzki, who is the drug czar of UFC, he's not back in the USADA pool of testing. And that would be something he would know if that was the case. So if he is going to fight in the UFC, that would put his theoretical fight from the 1 year suspension he got for testing positive after the Hunt fight to sometime north of January next year. Because that's apparently when the suspension would end if he were to reinitiate testing right now.
Yeah, well, I heard slightly differently that it would be mid-December at the absolute earliest, but only if he was to enter the pool, like, today, right now. So, yeah, there's that. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much of what... I'm taking nobody's word for this. I know Jeff Nowitzki has all the credibility in the world at this point, but he works for the UFC. He... he should know one way or the other, or one would assume he would know, but you and I had a little conversation earlier this morning, and you were pretty sure he still works for USADA. I have no evidence that is the case.
He would get any of the scheduling, testing-wise, from USADA to do with UFC athletes, which technically Lesnar still technically would be.
Well, see, there's the thing, is he still is he a contracted UFC fighter? Because I don't think he is. I think he signed like a one-fight deal.
Yeah, but they would still inform him if he was talking with the UFC about any potential, because the UFC would be entitled to be aware of his drugs testing status.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he's going to fight in the United States, one would assume that the UFC has to be at the table. I mean, he could be looking at a Bellator deal or something. They do have the money that they could make Lesnar a compatible offer. But if I'm Brock Lesnar and I'm talking about a serious UFC or a serious MMA return, the UFC's at that table. I want the bidding war.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm on the same page as like he's not going to be fighting, but I assume that, and there's reports that Heyman, and for some reason or other, somebody's linked Heyman in with this story, that there was reports that they were at the UFC headquarters, they were talking to the UFC officials about blah, 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 and I don't know, nobody knows if that's really true or not. So at this point...
Heyman has been involved in his business affairs outside of WWE in the past.
Oh, I was not aware of this. It just sounded like somebody had mixed up kayfabe with reality. I'm like, he's an on-screen advocate. He's not like a lawyer or an agent or anything.
Yeah, the Heyman kayfabe relationship with Brock Lesnar actually goes into real life a little bit. He's not officially his agent or his manager or anything like that, but he is a close friend who Brock seems to trust it, looking at giving an opinion, basically.
Yeah, fair enough. So, at this point, I'm sure yourself and more than a few people are just looking at this as a marketing ploy. Lesnar's contract is up as of WrestleMania or after WrestleMania?
I think it was April 15th.
Yeah, so just after WrestleMania. And he's trying to get the most money he possibly can. What was it? I think it was Brian Alvarez was saying the theory is that he's looking to just get one big ass score and then that's it. Like he'll retire in his early 40s and be rich as shit, which should work out nicely. Although I don't know how he seems kind of competitive. He might not stay that way.
True enough, but I don't think wrestling has ever gotten his competitive urges really out. I think that was when the fighting came in.
I'd love to see him go back to Japan, but there's no way that New Japan will let him or pay him what he perceives as his worth, and there's no way he'd take a pay cut just to do something cool either. So
yeah, I was gonna say the only way the MMA rumors would be true is if he's looking at a non North American option. And the only one I could think of was particularly Ryzen, because I don't see him taking any of the assorted Russian options that are out there. There are a couple of Russian federations that would be able to pay him, but I don't think he would do that. I just don't see fighting in Russia as something he views as a positive. Other than that, you have KSW, but KSW traditionally hasn't gone after big stars like that. They're kind of more regional. They have the money, but they probably wouldn't do it. And then the only other person I could see in the pool is ONE FC, but they've historically not gone after. They've historically not tried to bid against the UFC too seriously, which this would be, I imagine, in Dana White's eyes, considered bidding against the UFC. And 2, they tend to respect USADA drug suspensions, and the only reason I think it would be an overseas deal is to get around the whole random testing and current suspension 5 months.
Yeah, I would agree. And
that would be Verizon is really the only option.
Wouldn't that also mess, because that messed with his ability to do wrestling in a couple of states too, doesn't it?
A couple of states that don't let's put it this way, take a more serious view on the health of professional wrestlers.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which is neither good nor bad. I would kind of say it's just a thing to keep in mind, really. But yeah, he's got a 5-month suspension on USADA, so anywhere he goes that respects USADA's judgments would require him to re-enter their program. Or so that basically means you're going overseas. Probably Ryzen would be the only real player in this whole thing.
I would agree, and at this point, I just assume that it's all marketing. It's all just negotiation tactics. So I'm where I like to see him fight again. I'm actually not too sure. I have not been impressed with the majority of his fights were not what I would really sign up to watch again.
They've not been tremendously must-see fights or anything. The Carwin fight was an impressive comeback. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean he was
getting his ass kicked.
Monkeyed around. Yeah, he was just getting turfed, and then Carwin ran out of gas.
But aside from that, I don't think that there's a single Lesnar fight that I've gone back and watched again at any real point.
Yeah,
unless it just happened to be on UFC Unleashed or something.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even really know if I want to see him wrestle that much, because he, due to booking, that they have to make him the champion for large extended periods of time, because they're paying him all this money, and they're not paying him millions of dollars every year to job to guys. So he's going to be the victor in the vast majority of the wrestling matches he's booked in. Therefore, I know the outcomes ahead of time very easily, and the only way he's really worth my time in the wrestling ring is if he puts somebody else over, which rarely happens, and therefore his matches, to me, are kind of boring.
I kind of have a slightly opposite view, kind of the same end result, but with different criteria. In the sense that my problem with him is not that he wins. I'm surprisingly okay with that. But my problem is that every match he has with an individual person is going to be very much the same. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to hit 3 or 4 suplexes. That's going to be pretty much the match. So I'm really interested in seeing him fight new people, wrestle new people. Hence, I was kind of excited about an idea of him facing Joe.
Yeah,
I'm not really excited to see him. I don't ever want to see him face Roman Reigns ever again, or Seth Rollins ever again, or Bray Wyatt ever again,
or Dean Ambrose.
Braun Strowman, I'm mixed on, because that could be interesting now.
I'd want to see it one time so he could put Strowman over, but I'm not interested in Strowman. I'm not interested in the Monster losing another big match.
I'm not interested in that either. I'd be interested in the technicalities of the match, but it would kind of kill off yet another, really one of the few overacts they have as a singles. So that's not a great idea. And so even including that, I'm down to see him face Braun and Joe. And if I see him face either of those guys once, probably not down for it after that. So, we're kind of kind of running out of things I actually want to see from Brock.
Pretty much. I don't know if an aging Brock Lesnar is what I want to see in the ring, unless, he gets a rematch against Hunt and Hunt kicks his ass. There's nobody in the heavyweight division of the UFC that I really want to see fight hardly at all anyway, so why would I want to see them fight Brock Lesnar?
It's a pretty minimal list. I enjoy watching Hunt fight. I enjoy watching Cain Velasquez fight. Francis Ngannou. That's about it, really.
Yeah, but isn't Velasquez hurt like
98% of the time? Yeah. I don't have any faith that. Well, I kind of like watching Fabricio Verdum still. That last fight with Overeem really kind of sucked it out of me.
Yeah, I didn't watch that fight. I heard people were pissed off at Verdum for winning.
Well, Overeem won the fight.
Oh, right. Sorry, yeah, other way around.
Let's put it this way. I know this is not... We're here to talk about pro wrestling, but we're going to segue into MMA real quick here.
Can't help it.
Basically, round one somehow got scored for Alistair Overeem despite landing next to no punches.
Okay.
Not that Verdum landed a lot. I'd be happy to call that a draw round. Not a problem. Round two, definitely Overeem's, but not particularly great. Round three, Verdum knocked Overeem down, took him down, almost submitted him, and ended the fight on top. So that's probably a 10-8 round. So the idea that Overeem won the fight is pretty suspect.
Interesting.
Like, at best, that should have been a draw for Overeem. That's with a 10-9 third round and a 10-10 first round.
Well, I'd still score it for Overeem because I am biased.
I didn't think you were that biased for Overeem. I thought, if anything, it'd be the other way around.
Nah, well, I've never actually cared that much for Verdum. He's okay, and he had a hot streak for a bit, but other than that...
All right, let's get into the wrestling. We're going to talk a little more about MMA at the end, because there's another thing I just want to, tangent I want to go on.
Ooh.
But let's handle the actual shows. We've got 205 Live. Let's get the ugly out of the way.
Do it.
I have no idea what's going on with Brian Kendrick's character.
I keep saying they just need to pull him off TV. They don't. Whatever he's doing isn't it. It's not working.
Yeah, he's got the gimmick where he's kind of picking a fight with the entire city of Manchester and the island of the United Kingdom. It's not great. It's really not great.
It was kind of, I guess, predictably not that great when they did it on the 4th of July, and then it got worse. So you went from predictably bad, not even bad. It was
I think even, to be honest, July the 4th was the worst part of it just because the crowd didn't know what to do with it. At least now they know to boo him.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad. And what we got was him getting a squash match against Devin Bennett, I think that was his name.
Yeah.
Who is apparently from Jack Gallagher's hometown of Manchester.
Indeed. I basically skipped most of this. As soon as I figured out that he was coming out and he was facing a jobber, I just started skipping until I got past it. I barely paid any attention because it's not worth my time, and that's the end of the story.
Which is such a shame, because you would think, if I were to tell you Brian Kendrick is going to feud with Jack Gallagher, you'd be reasonably excited by that.
I would be.
But they've taken, the only angle that this is not interesting.
Yeah, and they've managed to turn a somewhat Machiavellian character in Brian Kendrick into a boring, one-note, I am just going to try to come out and prove how smart I am, and then the face is going to win character. So that's boring.
Yeah, this is pretty well sucking. On to the good, though. The 2 out of 3 falls match between Drew Gulak and Mustafa Ali had me invested the entire time, told a very solid story, and had good pace to it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and there were some good spots. The finish was a bit weird, but...
I'm fine with the finish being a reverse 450.
Oh, no, the move was great, but he took a while. He's just standing up there going, and I'm literally going, oh, yeah, okay, he's going for the inverted 450. This should be the finish. And then I looked at something on a web page and read a couple of paragraphs and looked back, and he's still on the fucking top turnbuckle. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, dude? Come on.
Yeah, that was a bit weird. There were also some minor clunky moments in the match that were not so great.
Yeah,
but,
it started out a bit weird. The chemistry was off. Something was going on. I don't know what the hell happened.
You're also working to a storyline that I'm not really sure either of them are 100% comfortable working to.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because it's been the only storyline.
But still, a good blow-off. I enjoyed it. I'm interested to see what they do with both of these guys from here. I assume Ali's going to have a title shot at some point in the relatively near future.
One would assume.
And that's pretty good. Other than that, Apollo Crews and Tozawa had a backstage thing, which was eh. TJP had a backstage promo, which was eh. And Daivari and Tozawa had a match, which would have been better if it's not, your WWE 101 selling the injured shoulder.
Yeah, if TJP had a backstage promo, I must have skipped it between a shitload of hype packages and commercials that don't need to be on your network.
He just basically said that me and Rich Swann are going to have a tag match next week, partners of our choosing, sort of thing. So
cool.
That could be fun.
As long as cool things happen, I'm good with it, because those two guys, I'm not always the biggest Rich Swann fan, because, again, they're turning him into this one note, I'm going to come out and I'm going to swivel my knees around, and then I'm going to have an okay match character, as opposed to TJP, who is actually having some character development, which is always interesting.
TJP is pretty much the most interesting thing on 205 Live right now, because I'm still not even really sure which way they're going to go with this.
Me neither. To be honest, I would like them, if fantasy booking time, they put the title on Tozawa, and then Tozawa and TJP have themselves an angle, because Tozawa is very good and has great facial expressions, and the crowd's behind him, and TJP is very interesting as a character and just kind of as an on-screen talent. So, the matches they could have would be great, assuming they'd allow them to wrestle, which is always an iffy prospect in the WWE, and we'd at least get some good emotional stuff out of them.
Yeah, I'd be super down for that. Those are two of the most interesting people on the brand right now, and hooking them up together would be fantastic, I think. Just end the Kendrick and Gallagher feud, and then I'll be happy.
Yeah. We have Kendrick feud against Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik at the same time.
I would like them to do anything with Lindsay Dorado and Grand Metalik, seriously. I want them on my TV. And they are not. It's kind of, Dorado was there for a little bit, but he's faded back into the background
again. Matches, yeah.
I think he had 3.
I'm pretty sure it was only 2.
But anyways, he just ended up fading right in the background again, and they do not know what they are doing with this division. Nope. I'm not even entirely sure they know what they're doing with a lot of the main brand, because, as stated, SmackDown is kind of a wreck right now, and Raw is... Raw would have been really good if they did the double turn with Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, but they didn't.
There's always some hope that my fantasy booking of the Shield will come through, but Vince will probably... The problem is that Vince is really fucking old, and Vince seemingly, and reports are that he has no plans until 5 minutes before the camera rolls, and then he just makes it up and throws all the writing out the window. So I assume that he wakes up, they have the writers' meeting, they agree on a lot of stuff, he falls back asleep, wakes up from another nap, and then throws all of that out, and they have to rewrite everything 5 minutes before the cameras roll, and then he probably throws half of that out halfway through a show.
That's quite... But you know what? I'd believe that the way these things are going. It's just not good right now. But moving on to NXT, where, good things actually happen. This is a first. This is the first time I've watched a WWE show since we started doing this podcast that I have absolutely no segments to complain about. I'm going to have little individual nitpicks, but no segment turned me off. That's pretty impressive, actually. So, lead us off. What do you want to talk about first?
holy shit, Oni Lorcan, goddamn, what the fuck? This dude is a mass murdering homicidal maniac, and I want to see him every single week.
I would have enjoyed if him and he had a match with Danny Burch if you did not actually watch the show.
And shame, for shame.
Which Lorcan won. I would have been super happy if they just beat the piss out of each other with strikes, because just thinking about the awkwardness of Oni Lorcan and the pseudo boxing style of Danny Burch and like basically a striking match, it causes me to tingle in all kinds of different ways, because that could be a really fun match.
Yeah, it was fantastic. They hit each other really fucking hard, and I don't know if I have no idea who's booking Lorcan to do what he's doing, but like last week he broke Kenta's fucking nose, and this week he didn't really try to do that to Danny Burch, but I'm pretty sure he hit him with a European uppercut so hard he bit his tongue or his cheek or something. There's blood coming out of that guy's mouth.
Cheek was bleeding pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know who's booking this, or if somebody got in his ear and said, go out there and just fucking murder. But I'm enjoying it. It may be a little unsafe. Somebody may want to get it. May want to get in his ear about it, but
I think it's a two-pronged, call it a problem, I guess, because we're talking about the safety of it. Is number one is that he's always been a very stiff worker, and number two, he's a very awkward guy to kind of read the movements of. So I think part of it is like, okay, I know he's going to hit me with the European uppercut, and okay, that was not the angle I thought that was coming from. Okay, and now I'm bleeding.
Yeah, so I don't know what the combination is, but yeah, he is awkward. I guess there's a timing issue with some people, and his matches are great.
Black.
Yeah,
that just came to mind.
His matches are great. It is very much in keeping with the G1 Climax, which we're totally going to cover because I'm going to make you do it. And yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I would like to see more, please.
Mm-hmm. I thought the tap out for the Boston Crab was a bit quick, but that was basically the biggest letdown of the match.
That was about it.
Which is pretty good.
It was a little awkward. It was not slick, but they threw out Lance Storm's name, and I marked out, so I'm good with that.
I'm going to talk about Ember Moon, Ruby Riott, because Ember Moon, I made no secret, she's a girl I see immense potential in, but haven't really gotten behind as the current product. I think there's a lot of work to do there. I still think there's a lot of work to do there, but this match, it turned me around a little bit. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. There was a tad bit of clunkiness in the middle, but did a good job. Also, she did the stunner thing she does, corkscrew stunner for the pin, the Eclipse. Probably the best I've ever seen her do it. So that's good.
Yeah, I would
that's been Botch City.
Yeah, it was still very apparent in the first third of the match that Ruby Riott had to wrestle down to Ember's level, and just sort of coax her along and like, come on, we need to pick up the pace, we need to hit these spots, we need to get the match going, but once she got comfortable, I guess she got going. Other than that, it was pretty good. I would have preferred them to push Ruby Riott because I think she's more of an immediate success, and keep Ember Moon still developing, but she's got a great theme song, and I guess she's got a great look and a great theme song and a great finisher, so I guess that's all they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I would have preferred if, as stated, Nikki Cross had taken the title of Asuka, or if it was going to be Ruby Riott, or perhaps that new Japanese lady coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been the ones to dethrone Asuka, but I've also come to, they've had Ember Moon, I suppose, hot buttoned for that spot. Yeah. And at this point, I've given up trying to argue against it, and I'm just looking. At this point, I'm just looking for it to be as good as it can be.
Yeah.
And this match was generally a positive on that road, if she can continue to progress.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues at all with the match. It's just that it was pretty obvious who the talent was, and they're not pushing the talent. That's my only issue.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree, although I do believe Ember Moon does have big star potential. It's just a matter of getting her to that point.
Absolutely, but again, I'm not sure if she's going to be a big star or if she's going to be a great wrestler. Are we going to get another Samoan Reigns, or are we going to get
Roman Reigns is
Joe?
fine in the ring. Actually, I think honestly the booking is his enemy, not the matches.
He's fine, but I mean, you want us to watch Joe Anoa'i, or do you want to watch Samoa Joe? That's, I think, the difference here. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe time tells me that I am an idiot. But
I'd prefer Joe, but I also understand where that Roman Reigns can be big money, and they mishandle them terribly, like a lot of people in the last decade.
Well, long time.
I'd say even longer, but at least there's some successes of about a decade ago.
Yeah, I can't point to one.
John
Cena. Yeah, John Cena. We can all point to as an in-house, well-made success, and everybody else is kind of boring or has left.
For some reason, people like Randy Orton. I don't know why.
Like I said,
I don't.
Kind of boring.
I've never have I been really a big deal on Orton. Like when he first came in and did the Legend Killer gimmick, I kind of got behind that. But since then, it's been, I don't know. I have very much a hate relationship with Randy Orton.
1,000 RKO's, never drew a dime.
And then we had Drew McIntyre versus Killian Dane. This was the first time I think I really cared about Killian Dane. So, good work.
Yeah, when they brain not working. Drew McIntyre did the comeback and started nailing Dane with all kinds of big shots, and Dane was like, "Nope, motherfucker, nope." Then that got me genuinely interested. It was an okay match. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it started off on a very WWE, I'm a big man, gonna plod to the next spot kind of match, and it got me more and more interested as it went along, but it started off very ordinary. So
yeah, it took me a little bit to get into it as well, but you know what? Again, I'm basing this off of my expectations for this match and what it delivered, and it delivered more than I expected.
Yeah, it made Drew McIntyre look like a very credible number one contender. I'm very sad that Roderick Strong is not getting the title right away because it doesn't make any sense to break up that storyline, unless, of course, there's somebody in the back with it out for Roderick Strong who just wants to see him look like a big fat loser.
Always a possibility. I do grade the NXT shows differently than I do grade like a Raw or a SmackDown. Like with NXT, I'm just looking for you to exceed my expectations. Whereas with Raw and SmackDown, it's like this should be good. This is the main show. This is where the quote real wrestlers are, the people who are not learning. So that's kind of thing. Like I treat NXT like a developmental territory, and when it over delivers what I'm expecting, that's a win. Yeah,
but when I see like a proven, internationally known talent kind of get a minor push, a couple of little title shots, and
then the Roderick Strong thing is that's just terrible. The man should have won the title. You had gold in your hands. You could have struck while the iron was hot. I think the Bobby Roode's title reign has cooled off significantly.
I would agree.
I would have totally put the title on Roddy.
Yeah, it's been
I'm just more referring to
like
I don't have terrible expectations or big expectations for Big Damo / Killian Dane. Yeah. And he over delivered. That's it.
Yeah, totally. I just think it's been I agree that his title run has come to an end, and it's time for a face champion, like a good strong. When was the last time we had a good strong face champion at all in anything?
Well, I mean, we had Nakamura.
Yeah, but they always booked him to be the gimp that somehow won.
That's true.
He had a bad leg for about a year.
Well, if you're looking at NXT, I guess you'd have to go back to Neville's title reign.
I guess. Or, in WWE in general, when was the last time a good, strong, face-push champion? I can't even remember one.
At the top of the card...
Like anything.
I'm really not getting much. Maybe Becky Lynch's early SmackDown ladies run?
I'll take your word for it. I wasn't watching at that point.
That was reasonable. But yeah, other than that, Haven't really had a good face run with any of the IC or the US belts. Haven't really had a face champion, really, period, outside of, Goldberg. But
well,
that
yeah,
doesn't
but
really count.
he wasn't even really pushed as a wrestler, let alone like a champion.
But anyways, other than that, we had No Way Jose beat Cesar Bonomi, which I thought was a bit of a waste to just squash Bononi like that.
Yeah, I was not expecting especially because they put the highlight package out of, look, he beat Cien Almas. Isn't this amazing? This new up and comer, he's pretty damn good. Let's see how he does against No Way Jose. Oh, he just lost.
Yeah, he's got a good look. He seems actually pretty competent in the ring. Don't have any idea of what the mic skills are, but
Nope.
I'm not saying he should have won here. Like, No Way Jose winning and setting up a continuing feud with Andrade Cien Almas is, that is the way to go at the end. But the match, I felt it just should have been a competitive match, and this was just like a complete squash.
I think they're trying to do two things at once. They're trying to get Jose back into some sort of a spotlight type position because he did have that injury and he was away for a while. And they also are trying to get Bononi some time on TV. So, I mean, it does kill two birds with one stone. It just wasn't it was a bad segue.
Yeah, I was not particularly impressed with that. And then the tangent I'm going to end this off with, because I'm going to try and end off every podcast we do now with like a tangent. Just like us talking about something completely random. Jack Swagger and MMA. That's today's topic.
Oh, interesting.
I was.
Is there an official thing here? Or is this
there's no rumor. This was literally just off of a YouTube conversation I was having with a guy on another wrestling video. One of Solid Monster's. They put him up on TV tracks, like segments of his podcast.
Oh yeah.
And I was having a conversation with this guy about Jack Swagger and just MMA transitions from pro wrestling in general. Now, of course, we've seen some terrible MMA transitions like Sean O'Hare, Bart Gunn, from pro wrestling to MMA. We've seen some good ones too. Ken Shamrock, Minoru Suzuki, a couple other guys from back in the day.
Did Shamrock do pro wrestling first?
He did do pro wrestling first.
Oh, well,
he was doing pro wrestling in Japan when they came up with the idea of, we could do like realer pro wrestling.
That is correct.
And that's where Pancrase came from.
Fair enough.
So you got that. You've got, of course, we talked about Brock Lesnar, became UFC champion even if it was in a remarkably weak division and one that was probably rushed to, but still wore the title, still defended it. So that's got to be at least a reasonably positive run. And we've, of course, lately seen a lot of MMA guys going over to pro wrestling because you have Tom Lawler, you have Matt Riddle doing the pro wrestling thing and doing it very well, I might add.
Yeah, Matt Riddle is somebody to watch. If you don't understand, if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to track down some PWG. Doesn't he also do for Evolve?
He does.
So yeah, track down some Matt Riddle. We watched him on The Ultimate Fighter. He was kind of goofy. Yeah, he was kind of goofy and turned into not a bad fighter, but he really liked his marijuanas, and that got him in trouble.
Really athletic dude.
Yes.
So you got him, you got Tom Lawler. You, of course, got the weird Bobby Lashley deal with MMA and pro wrestling at the same time. We've also seen some failures. Rampage Jackson, please step forward.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because I thought Rampage in pro wrestling was going to be really, really good, and it was not.
You know what? What if you were to do the Titus Worldwide with Rampage in the place of Titus?
I'd be down with that. But anyways, the debate is that can a pro wrestler become a good MMA fighter? And people have been... This has been a hot topic since CM Punk, of course, went out there and got his ass whooped. And I think, to be honest, the answer is really simple. It's yes. Now, it's yes with a couple of caveats. One, I think that pro wrestler has to have a combat sports background, be that NCAA wrestling or some form of other martial art. So, for example, using our example of Jack Swagger, former NCAA Division I All-American, I do believe.
It's probably true. I don't think that was gimmicked.
That was not a gimmick. I'm just trying to remember if he was All-American or if he was an NCAA champion or what the specifics were, but very legitimate wrestling background. And also, for a dude that big, he would be easily a heavyweight. He would be pretty athletic if you look at the current UFC crop of heavyweights. I mean, there are a number of guys that have far less physical tools than Jack Swagger. Possibly all but the top 5.
Donald Jacob Hager Jr. Stands 6'9" tall, 270 pounds. Is 35 years old. Let me scroll. Amateur Wrestling National Collegiate Association single season record for most pins at 285 pounds. A lot of pro wrestling stuff. I don't see any actual accomplishments in amateur wrestling.
I would say a record for pins would suggest at least All-American, though.
In Oklahoma, no fucking less.
Uh-huh.
But I don't see any actual, like, real championships won or... he's the 215-pound blah, blah, blah in high school.
I'd say winning a high school title in wrestling in Oklahoma is itself a big deal.
But yeah, I guess. That's about football. I don't even see any high school titles on his record. Played football, a lot of stuff about football. Jim Ross recruited him at the 2005 NCAA Division Championships. He lost to Matt Feast in the second round and did not place. As a senior in 2006, he had a 7th place finish at the championships. Hager was named an All-American at season's end, setting Oklahoma's record for most pins in a season with 30.
So
he was an All-American, yeah.
So, solid background. Now, I will throw out the caveat that he's probably too old to make a serious run. 35 years age, he'd have, maybe 5 years if he started right now?
Maybe. I'd say 5 years. I would give him a good solid 5 years if he'd been training for the last 10.
Well, I mean just 5 years of activity, not even quality activity.
Okay, well, if we're drawing the line there, then yeah, I totally agree.
So, it'd be a bit rough, but just in general, I think people who say pro wrestlers can't make good fighters, and I say this as a fight fan, that's a lie. I think it depends on the background, it depends on the age, and it depends on how physically intact you are. There was someone who was trying to shout out the Undertaker could totally go and do some things in MMA. I'm like, no. The answer is no. The answer probably hasn't been the case in 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years ago, totally, completely could have seen that happen, but not in the last 20, 15 years.
I think if you were to design the perfect pro wrestling to MMA transition guy, be a dude who's maybe 30, 31 years old, at least known in the wrestling scene, and who's been kind of interested casually in the sport and has some kind of NCAA background.
Yeah, so I would say
Jack Swagger 5 years ago.
Or Kurt Angle at any point.
Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph Ziggler. Probably, I would even say John Cena, just because he could probably ground and pound some fools, even though he has no combat background. I still think that he has got the physical tools that could make it happen. Whether or not he's got the Andy Hu gun-shy mentality or not, nobody really knows. So,
yeah, and that's of course the other question: is how do you take a punch? Because Lesnar's probably biggest limiting factor was that dude does not like getting hit.
He does not
at all. At least not by heavyweights.
No.
And it's not a problem. To be clear, you shouldn't like getting hit, but we're talking he curled up into a ball against Shane Carwin a lot. And that is Shane Carwin, don't get me wrong. That is one of the hardest hitting motherfuckers the UFC's ever had. But
and he did the same thing against Overeem as well. He just turtled.
Overeem, though, I think it was the thing in the intestines, the diverticulitis that he was suffering from at the time.
Could be.
And his entire posture changed after he ate one knee to kind of the intestinal area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of willing to give him a pass on that one. But as far as I know, the Carwin fight, and even Couture had him a little gun shy. That's
he does not like
not a great sign. But yeah, I mean, a MMA dude going to or a pro wrestling dude going to the UFC, totally possible, especially if it's heavyweight. Heavyweight is not very athletic, and I mean, there's a couple of pro wrestlers who could probably have a reasonable accounting of themselves.
Mm-hmm. I think if you're going to just fantasy book career changes, I would have said probably Ron Simmons, Kurt Angle, Harley Race. That would have been fun. He might have killed a guy, though. You know, there's lots of guys you could actually point to that had backgrounds
Steve
or
Blackman.
just reputation. Yeah, Steve Blackman. I would have loved to see Meng karate chop some fools. That would have been fun. But yeah, it could totally happen.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the tangent I had for the day. And we're going to be back to do some Lucha Underground tomorrow.
Woo!
And you can look forward to that. And we got some G1 Climax stuff coming up, although that's if I agree.
You have agreed. I have it in writing.
No, you don't.
I do. I made it.
I've not signed anything.
I forged it. It's very
authentic. You can't forge my signature.
I can. It's just
there's so much nerve damage in my right hand that you can't even fix it.
I just drew a big X with a Sharpie, and nobody will be able to tell me about it.
I don't sign things with a giant X. I'm not my dad.
I
he does actually sign things with a giant Z.
That's pretty cool. Your dad is Zorro.
Well, I mean, his name is Zorn.
Zorro!
So, that's pretty much the show for this round. Pretty positive, actually. We didn't bitch about anything, hardly.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm more pissed off when 205 Live and NXT are not good. I accept the fact that Raw's going to be crap, and that SmackDown's not going to be any better. Although, I always hope that SmackDown will be better. And then I look forward to the actual shows with the real wrestling on it. And when they're not good, that's when I get angry.
And if you're not watching 205 Live on the network in NXT, please do, because let's pump those ratings, because
those are rookie numbers.
Yeah, those are the shows that we really need to support and actually bring to the forefront, because God knows the talent on Raw just gets killed.
Yep.
In this dark and dreary age of Vince McMahon.
That's why New Japan is so important.
New Japan, terribly important, yes.
Which is why it deserves coverage.
Every so often I do have my New Japan moment of, why was that not the finish? But,
yeah, which we can talk about.
But aside from that, it is fantastic action, hard-hitting action. Closest thing you're going to see to a fight in a pro wrestling choreographed sense.
Very much so. And day 2 has Omega versus Suzuki.
See, I don't know whether I really want to be excited about that, because it means I'm excited about Minoru Suzuki.
You know you want to see Suzuki eat several Snapdragons. Don't let him.
Yeah, but he may also just destroy Omega's groin for no reason.
That I don't know if that's a wise decision at this stage in Kenny Omega's career. He may have some stroke that you just don't want to mess with.
I don't really think Suzuki cares about the stroke. I mean, he's been kicked out of several promotions for not caring about the stroke.
That is probably true, but I don't. At his age, how many more runs has he got?
I would say the counterpoint of that is, at his age, how much brain damage has he suffered to actually really be able to think about that?
Also true, yes. Anyway, you can tune in for more coverage on that when we cover New Japan.
See, I've only agreed to do one podcast on New Japan G1 Club.
No, you didn't.
I've only agreed to do one.
You agreed to the entire all the English G1 broadcasts. That's what I have here in writing.
He's lying to you, everybody.
It's not a lie.
He's
it's
lying.
Just hyperbole.
He's lying. It's not hyperbole. Hyperbole is exaggeration. This is a lie.
Yeah. No. Maybe.
Anyways, until next time, get off Byron's lawn.
Correct.